So, hello everyone. This is the second lecture of PDC, and here we are going to discuss the displacement error. Before this, we have discussed the little bit about the time-based generator, and after that, we have discussed the various errors that used to come basically when we are trying to generate the time-based signals. So this is the third kind of error, that is known as displacement error. So the displacement error, and it is generally represented by ED. So the first of all, what the setup we have a simple setup that we are providing a voltage V with the resistance R to the capacitor, and this is grounded. And here we are basically measuring the voltage, and this voltage that appears across the capacitor due to the supply voltage, that is we are representing V naught, or it is representing by Vs. Okay, so when this is going, how we have defined the displacement error. So this is the time and this is the output voltage. So when we are providing a linear signal, so this linear signal was represented by the Vs dash. This signal was represented by Vs dash, and the practical signal that is generating, like this is somehow in this manner, and this is we are what representing by Vs. So this is the kind of the output signal or the Vs, and this is the time period Ts that we are limiting for this capacitor. Means up to this limit we are basically measuring the voltage across this capacitor. Now what we have to do, we have to calculate the displacement error. And what is the displacement error? So displacement error, ED, is defined as the VD is basically what, as already we have discussed, that it is the maximum difference. It is the maximum difference between the actual sweep and the practical sweep that we are getting. So where we are in this graph, we are getting the maximum difference. It is at nearby Ts by 2. So this is the maximum difference that what we are getting, and that we have to calculate the maximum difference. So this is basically representing the formula, and this is given by the Vs minus Vs dash, the difference, and this is the maximum difference, divided by the amplitude of this Vs dash, amplitude of the Vs dash, amplitude of Vs dash at Ts. So already this error we have discussed. So now we are trying to calculate it numerically with the system. So when we are applying a voltage to a capacitor by the resistance R, so what kind of the error basically is coming in terms of displacement error when we want to calculate. So this is the formula of the displacement error that we have to calculate. So ED is equal to this Vs. Vs is basically the output voltage that is generating across, appearing across the capacitor. So how you write that V naught or the Vs, the basically the charging equation of the capacitor. V naught or Vs is nothing but the charging equation of the capacitor. So it is charging by the voltage V, 1 minus e to the power minus t by RC. So already we have discussed so many times. So now if we want to calculate the Vs, so it will be what, V. Now we want to calculate this Vs at what instant, at the Ts by 2. So it will be 1 minus of e to the power minus of Ts by twice of RC. So this is at T is equal to Ts by 2. if now we are interested to expand this series, so how we can write this? So this is the voltage V, and this is the 1 we will write, and this is the minus, and then we have to write 1 minus over TS by twice of RC, then plus what is minus TS by twice of RC square divided by factorial 2 multiplied by factorial 2 and plus so on. So because we are interested for the first two terms only, so that's why I am expanding this series only up to the first two terms, and there so on we can write, but I am not writing here. So this is the Vs that we are calculating. So this Vs is equal to what? It is the V. So this one will get cancelled, so it will be simply the TS by twice of RC, and this is the plus, so this is what I can write here, the TS by RC square, this factorial 2 multiplied by this 4, square of 2 is 4, so it will be 1 by 8 and so on. So I am neglecting the further terms. So this is what the V is at TS by 2. So this thing we have calculated because we are getting the maximum difference at this instant only. That's why I am calculating this. That's why I am calculating this Vs at TS by 2. Now what is that Vs dash? Vs dash is basically the original sweep or the input or the ideal or the linear sweep that we are giving as a reference or a ramp signal. So already we have done the analysis of this. If suppose this signal Vs dash, the slope of this signal is given by V by RC. This thing already we have discussed while calculating the sweep error. And suppose if I want to calculate the magnitude of Vs dash at TS by 2, then what will be the magnitude of Vs dash? So Vs dash at TS by 2 will be simply the TS by 2 will be multiplied by this term, so it will be TS into V twice of RC. The same thing already. If suppose I want to calculate this Vs dash, that is slope is given by this at T is equal to Ts. This is also T is equal to Ts by 2. Now if I want to calculate the magnitude of Vs dash at Ts, so it will be simply the Ts multiplied V divided by simply RC. Why I am calculating this? Because I also need the amplitude of Vs dash at Ts, and this Vs dash is at Ts by 2. So the everything I have calculated. Now we have to put this formula. We have put the value in this formula. So the ED is what? Vs maximum difference we are getting at Ts by 2. So both this quantity are we are interested to calculate at Ts by 2. So this Vs already we have calculated at Ts by 2, this one. So this what I am writing, V into Ts by twice of RC plus Ts by RC whole square multiplied by 1 by 8, then minus Vs dash at Ts by 2. So Vs dash at Ts by 2, this is the magnitude. So we are writing T as V twice of RC, then divide by at Ts. So this is V divided by RC into Ts. So if you will finalize this equation, so this V will get cancelled out, and if we are calculating that Ts by RC, so Ts by RC is present everywhere, so I am taking the common Ts by RC. So this is the ED is equal to Ts by RC. I am taking common from the numerator, so 1 by 2 will be left here, plus Ts by RC. Simply it will be left by here multiplied by 1 by 8 minus TS by RC is there, so minus 1 by 2 will be left here, and near here it is TS by RC is available. So this TS by RC will get cancelled. This 1 by 2, this 1 by 2 will also get cancelled. So what is the remaining? That is TS by RC into multiplied by 8. So this is the final formula of the displacement element. Now already you are aware that TS by RC is what? ES. So if you want to represent this displacement error ED in terms of sweep error, so that can be written as ES divided by 8. So you can further also relate this ED/ES with the transmission error also, that already we know. So this is the basic relation here. Now the next topic of our discussion is unijunction transistor. So now unijunction transistor, as you know, here the transistor word is coming, but I would like to clear you that this device UJT, that is also named as UJT, it is not having the transfer resistance function. So that's why this unijunction transistor do not have the facility, or it does not facilitate the amplification property of the signal. So although the transistor word is written there, but it does not behave as a transistor. This is a simple negative resistance. It provides a negative resistance that we will see in the working. So here this is a simple, as the name implies, that UJT. UJT is having the unijunction. Unijunction means this device is having only one junction. One junction of what? P and N. So this is having a simple one junction where the p-type material and n-type material are joined together. So in this unijunction transistor we will have the simple one junction, as BJT has the two PN junctions. So this unijunction has only one junction. And this first, then we want to see the structure of this unijunction transistor. So how it looks like. So this is what the simple structure of the UJT, where you can see here, this is the slab of N-type material, and in this slab, this is not the actual picture of the UJT. Here it is just they are representing in a different manner. For the sake of better understanding, I can represent it in the better way for you, like how it is look like. So if we are interested to draw the structure of UJT, how it will look like actually, like suppose we are taking a slab of N-type material. In this N-type material we have a region that we produce by doping, that is P plus, and then we will have a metallic contact, that is a simple and rough structure I am drawing for you. So this is the simple, the structure, metallic contact, and this, suppose I am giving the name to this metallic contact. This one is suppose B2 and the lower one is having B1. Okay, and now also we will have here the metallic contact for connecting this, and this terminal is called as emitter. So because of that it is a 3 terminal, so that's why we are calling it transistor, although it is having a simple one PN junction. And where is this junction? Here. And this is the N-type slab, N-type, and why it is lightly doped. It is lightly doped, whereas the P plus material is heavily doped. So this is the simple physical structure of the unijunction transistor. Now if you, so you can see that here it is a PN junction, and if I want to, now one thing is important here, where this p-type material is placed, is it in the exactly in between of this, or it is a little bit shifted to B2, or it is a little bit shifted to B1. So I would like to tell you that this P plus material will be shifted toward, it will not place in the exactly between of that B1 and B2, but it will be some near towards the base of B1, and on that basis basically the internal resistance from this emitter to this base 1 and from this emitter to base 2 we will decide. So suppose in this silicon slab, if it is lightly doped, so it will have a resistance definitely. And this, if P plus material, this P plus region is I am already telling that it is nearer to this B1 as compared to this B2. So if I want to draw the resistance of this slab with respect to this emitter terminal in its equivalent circuit, so how it will be drawn? So that is basically I am presenting here. See this one. So here we can check out that this terminal is basically physically appearing that this one. So what I am doing, I am taking this PNN junction. This is a simple PNN junction. So this is the PN junction that I am representing by diode. So this is the PN junction, I am representing a diode, and here it is in the mid of that. So if suppose I am drawing a resistance here from this point to this point, so there is a resistance and there is a resistance here. So from this emitter to base 2, the resistance that equivalent will exist, that is suppose I am giving the name R2, and this resistance is R1. And I also would like to tell you this resistance R1 is a variable resistance. Why it is variable, I will discuss it later when we will discuss the working of this UJT. But when I am not providing any biasing voltage here at the emitter terminal, then in this condition this resistance R2 and R1 is distributed along this from the base 2 to base 1. Now suppose if I want to now bias this UJT, so how I will bias this UJT? So before that I am drawing an equivalent circuit of this, how it will look like. So it will look like a diode, a PN junction. So this is the P type material and this is the N type material. So I am P and this is N here. So this is your emitter terminal, and now here this is connected to base 2. So with the resistance of R2 I am connecting this base 2 terminal, and with the resistance of R1 I am connecting this base 1 terminal. So this is the equivalent circuit of this UJT. And now suppose if I want to bias, so how I will bias this? Now I will provide voltage positive, and this terminal is basically we are taking as a reference. So here we are connecting this battery as a reference, and this battery I am giving a name VBB, because basically this voltage is provided between these two base B1 and B2. So that's why I am giving a name VBB. So this VBB B2 terminal is connected with the positive terminal of the battery, and this is the negative or the reference one. Now here we have to bias this also. So now suppose when I am not connecting, so this is also the reference terminal, so this is also the reference terminal. So when I will apply any voltage here, then I will apply the voltage between these two terminals. Let's assume that when I will apply this, the voltage, that is VE. Now I have to find the voltage that is existing to this point, because suppose when I want to make this diode forward bias, so for making this diode forward bias we already know that this terminal should have the greater potential than this potential. So in this situation, if we are not able to know, if we are not knowing this potential, so we are not also knowing that with what potential we have to bias this diode to make it forward bias. So the condition that we are assuming, when the emitter is open circuited, means there is no current is flowing from this terminal. We are not applying any biasing voltage to this terminal, emitter terminal. In this situation, what will be the voltage here? Suppose if I am marking this potential by the name of V1. So by the simple voltage divider, because see, this VBB is applied between these two terminals. So if I want to calculate the V1, so simply we know that V1 will be equal to what? The resistance R1 upon the total resistance R1 plus R2 multiplied by the total voltage, that is VBB. Okay, so this is the voltage V1 that will appear here. Here, if we take the ratio V1 upon VBB, then this term will be represented as R1 upon R1 plus R2. And this is represented by eta, and it is known as the standoff ratio, and it is denoted by eta. Okay, so this is eta, that is represented by standoff ratio. Okay, now we come to know the voltage of V1. Now if I want to make this device forward bias, so how much voltage we have to apply? The cut-in voltage of this diode, suppose the cut-in voltage of the diode is V gamma. So if we want to make the diode forward bias, so V gamma plus V1, this is the voltage required to make this diode forward bias, and we are representing this voltage as an VP. And what is VP? VP is a simple peak voltage. It is a peak voltage. Okay, so this much VP, this much of the voltage minimum requirement is available at the emitter terminal that you have to apply to make this diode forward bias. Before this, it will be reverse bias, because V1 is available all the time when you are biasing this circuit by the voltage of VBB. Okay, so this is the structure of this unijunction transistor. This is the equivalent circuit of this, and now you have to come to know that how this diode will be forward biased. Now take a look of the working. So working means when you are applying forward bias here, emitter voltage that is greater than to the peak voltage, then this diode will become forward bias. And this, now you have to understand, this RB1 and this RB2 are not the external resistances. This is the internal resistance between this emitter to this base terminal. And when we apply the forward bias voltage, what happens? This is the N type, this is the metal, and this is a simple PN junction. So as you know that when you are applying the forward bias voltage, the carrier exchanges between this P and N type material, and the electron and hole is having the movement by the diffusion pressure and all that I am not going to discuss. But see, here the concentration of the electron will increase when this diode will get forward bias. The heavy amount of current will flow through this. Why? Because this is nearer to this base 1 terminal is near to that emitter terminal as compared to this B2, and this junction has become forward bias. So when the large amount of carrier will travel through this and it will accumulate in this region, so the resistance of this base region RB1 will be reduced, and that's why we have represented this with the variable resistance. Means with the voltage of this emitter, when you are making this terminal forward bias, the resistance of this portion is decreasing. When the resistance of portion is decreasing, the heavy amount of current is flowing through this circuit, through this resistance. Okay, so this is the working. Now we are discussing what is the characteristic of this UJT, how it is working. So here we are seeing that we are representing on y-axis, that is the emitter voltage that we are applying here. This is the emitter voltage that we are applying here, forward bias voltage, and this is your emitter current. This is your emitter current. This characteristic looks a little bit awkward because the independent parameter, that current, generally we plot on the y-axis, and this is this dependent parameter we generally plot on this y-axis, and this voltage, that is independent parameter, that we generally plot on axis. And that we can do also, like suppose first we let a look for this kind of graph. So suppose this is the emitter voltage that you are applying, and this is your emitter current. So when you are applying this emitter voltage here, when you are applying the emitter voltage here, and it is gradually increasing. So when it is gradually increasing, so the small amount of the current flows in the circuit. Now suppose this is your cut-in voltage, V gamma, but at this instant your device is not going to be forward biased. Why? Because you already know at the other terminal we have the voltage of Vp. So until the VE will not be equivalent to Vp, the device is not going to conduct. So further we are increasing the emitter voltage, and this is like here Vp. As the emitter voltage is reaching to the VB, the diode will get forward biased, and as this device will get forward biased, or we can say that UJT will get triggered by the input voltage that you are applying at emitter terminal of the UJT. So the heavy amount of the current will flow, and how it will be look like as we know that after UJT, this is the characteristics. The heavy amount of current will flow by this manner. So what I am representing this, why I am not plotting the current in this manner? It means that as the voltage is reaching to Vp, the emitter voltage is decreased. Emitter voltage decreased suddenly. Emitter voltage how decreased? Now see, look in this parameter. When you are applying the emitter voltage here, continuously increasing, and this voltage is reached up to the Vp, this diode will get forward bias. Why? Because this is the Vp is available here, V gamma plus V1, Vp is available, so this diode will get forward biased. So the heavy amount of the current will flow through the resistance, that is suppose IE. What happens when the heavy amount of the current will flow? The voltage drop across this resistance will increase, and due to that the voltage across this diode will decrease. So that's why this region will be treated as the negative resistance region. This region means you are current is suddenly increasing, resistance is decreasing, and the voltage also across the device is decreasing. So VE is decreasing basically, and then a heavy amount of current is flowing through this. The same characteristic is also we have tried to shown in this parameter. What we have done, we have just rotated this circuit. So this VE we are plotting here. So generally whenever you will go through the books, then you will find this kind of characteristics. This is not the very popular characteristic. This is the popular one for the UJT. So here we are plotting the emitter voltage on the y-axis, and this is the emitter current. So like see, this is the zero voltage, this is the zero current, and before this, this current that you are getting, this is a reverse saturation current. Reverse saturation current means the small current that is flowing in the diode before the VP. So before the VP, the current that is flowing, that is the reverse saturation current flowing in the diode. So that is basically represented by here in this manner, and this characteristic is representing in this manner because this is the voltage axis. So this is the negative current that is flowing. So after, as it is crossing the voltage, now this is the peak value. As we are increasing the voltage up to the VP, the current is also, it is represented by IP. This is the current. And now see, the current in the device is increasing. The current in the device is increasing, but the voltage across this device is decreasing in this region. So that's why this region is called the negative resistance region. And before this, it is the cutoff region. So why it is the negative resistance region? Because the voltage is decreasing across the diode, but the current is increasing. And now as the voltage is decreased up to the lower value, that is called the valley point, after this the diode will get cut off once again. And then once again, when you will increase the voltage further, now the simple behavior of the diode will look like in the further characteristic. So this is the negative resistance region. Now this is the valley point. In valley point, this is, if you are asking about the current value, so this is the valley current, this is the peak current, this is the valley voltage, and this is the peak voltage. I hope that you have understand the basic philosophy of this UJT, and this discussion, whatever I have told and whatever I have discussed with you, it is written here, so you can go through this. So this is what something that about the UJT here. Practically this eta value that exists is 0.55 to 0.82. What it does mean? What is the meaning of this? It is not exactly the 0.5, because if this emitter terminal is exactly in between of these two, base 1 and base 2, like here we can understand in this picture better. If this emitter is exactly in between of this, so this resistance value will be exactly same. So that's why the eta fraction will come eta will exactly come into the 0.5. But it is not so. This is nearer to this base 1. So that's why this eta value is near about 0.82 something like meeting. So this is all about the UJT. And after that we have to discuss the one application of this UJT in the sweep circuit. So sweep circuit using UJT as a relaxation oscillator, that we will discuss in the next lecture.